Hey guys, this is going to be your reading video for the week of April the 20th. This will be in your book, Unit 5, Week 5. Our big question for this week is, why are rules important? We've talked about this before in my room, but we all know that rules are very important. One of the things that I wanted to show you in your small reading book on page 386 is the question, why are rules important? That is our essential question for this week. So let's think for just a minute. What are you thinking? Why are rules important? I'll give you just a minute. Think about it. Well, as you see, these children look like they're waiting in line. I see a school bus behind them. Looks like they're going on a class trip. They are following the school's rules. Notice how they're waiting patiently in line. They have formed lines to listen to their teacher. So why do we have rules? Well, rules are there to keep us safe. By staying together, these children aren't getting lost and they're not going to get run over in the parking lot here. Nothing's going to happen to them. They're going to be right where they need to be for safety. You know, rules are there to keep us safe and to help us do things successfully. And so rules are very important. Without rules, things would just be a crazy mess, wouldn't it? Let's talk for just a minute about some rules that we have at home. I'm sure you have rules at home. What are some of the rules that you have at home? Think about that for just a minute. Those rules are important also. Why do you think you have to keep your room clean? Well, to take care of your stuff, but also so you can find things that you're looking for. You know, if you put things in the place they go, they'll be there the next time you get ready to use them again, and you can find them a lot more easily, and they will be taken care of. And so also to keep you safe. If you keep your toys picked up off the floor, you won't be tripping over them and falling or hurting yourself. You know, rules are very important no matter where we go. And I'm sure any time that you have been in the car, you have rules. If you've been on a school bus, there are rules. If you've been in a store, there are rules. Maybe in a restaurant. Rules are important. And so today we're going to be talking about why rules are important. And we're going to be looking at a story where we talk about the past. And our country was set up with rules. When the people that established our country first started our country, that was one of the first things that they did, was made a set of rules. And so that should show you how important rules are. If we don't have rules, then everybody's going to do whatever they want to do, and it's not going to be any fun for anyone. I don't want people hurting me or taking my stuff, and I'm sure you don't want that either. So rules are very important, and they're there to keep us safe as well as others. As we look at our story this week, we're going to be thinking about the past and our country, but we also have some vocabulary words, and I see them on page 388 in my book. So we're going to talk about them and what they mean. As I say the word, you can repeat it after me, okay? Are you ready? Exclaimed, finally, form, history, public, rules, united, writers. So let's talk about these words. You know, some words can have more than one meaning. I call that a multiple meaning word. How would I know what the word means if it can have more than one meaning? What would I do to figure out the meaning of a word if I'm not sure which meaning that it's talking about? Good. I would look at the clues around it. So when I read the word in the sentence, I might look at the pictures. I might look at the words in the sentence around the word. And that would help me to know which word they're talking about. So let's look at our words this week. Exclaimed. This little boy looks really surprised. What a surprise, James exclaimed. To exclaim something is to say something with strong feeling. You're excited. Our next word is finally. This little boy looks like he is going to the mailbox. It says the mail is finally at Liam's house. Finally means at last. Your next word is form. These two little boys look like they're playing a game of chess. Charlie and Dylan want to form a chess club. To form means to build it or to make it. The next word is history. This looks like this little boy and his dad are looking at a photo album of black and white photographs. So that tells me they're older photographs. Ben learns about the history of his family. The history is the past, things that have already happened. Our next word is public. This little girl is playing at a park. Public means it's for all the people. So our parks are a public park, which means anyone can go there. The school playground is Gina's favorite public place. So if something is a public place, that means that it's for everyone. Anyone can go there. Our next word is rules. Looks like a picture of a classroom, and these kids are all raising their hand. That's a good idea, isn't it? We must follow the rules of our school. We all have rules, and that's one important rule is to raise your hand so that we're not all talking at the same time, right? The next one is united, and I've got a team here, and they're all gathered together. The children united to win the game. United means together. You had to join together to do something. Our last word is the word writers. And you've got some kids that look like they're using a pencil to write something down. The writers were busy finishing their stories. Well, a writer is someone who writes something. In our writing center, you are all writers because you use different ideas or different things that we have in our writing center to write about your ideas and your thoughts. You also are writers when you write in your journal because you're writing your thoughts down. These words are important for us because we're going to see these words in our story this week. I'm going to turn the page and look at our story. The title of our story is called Visiting the Past. And once again, there's our essential question. Why are rules important? This week, we're going to read about how America became an independent country and how America developed its own rules. Just like I said earlier, our founding fathers of our country, that was one of the first things they did was established a set of rules or laws for our country when our country was established. So that should tell you that our rules are very important to our country. Visiting the past. As I think about that title, I want to predict what I think this story might be about. I notice that I see a picture of a real place. I also see a picture over here of a family. It looks like a photograph. And it says the Changs visit Philadelphia. I'm thinking because I see this family visiting Philadelphia and because my title says visiting the past, I'm thinking this story might be about a family visiting a place in our history or visiting the past of our country. I also am thinking as I look at the pictures, these look like real pictures of real places. And it looks like I have a chart here with facts and information. So that helps me to know that this story is probably going to be a true story or a story that has facts and information. Does anybody remember what we would call a story that gives us facts and information? What kind of a text did we call that story that gives us facts and information? Does anybody remember? It's called an expository text. So this story is an expository text because it gives us facts and information about a topic. We can see photos and captions. This is a caption because it goes with the photo. The Changs visit Philadelphia. A caption tells me what I'm seeing in the photo. It also gives us charts in an expository text with information for us to read about. So as I read this story, I'm going to be thinking about some facts and information that I can learn about this place that they are visiting, Philadelphia. I also want to think about predicting what might happen as I read. And sometimes our predictions might not be correct, and that's okay. We can change our predictions as we go along in our story and as we learn more about what we're reading. I also want to think about two important words that I've written on the board as I read: cause and effect. Now, in a story, you might have something that happens. And when something happens, you want to think about what's happening and why it is happening. That's the cause and the effect. So we're going to be thinking about the cause and the effect as we read our story today, and we're going to see if we can identify that. Usually, the cause is going to tell us why something happens. You can remember that because of the word because. If I ask my kids, why did you not clean your room? What are they going to say first? Well, because, and they're going to give me some kind of an excuse, right? So cause helps me to know why. Because helps me to know why they didn't clean their room. So because is going to tell me why, okay? The effect is what happened, okay? What happened? Okay, so we're going to read today our story, Visiting the Past, and then we're going to be thinking about cause and effect as we read, what's happening and why it's happening, all right? And then we're going to record that on the board, some information about that. Are you ready? Visiting the Past. On the 4th of July, skies across the United States light up. It's Independence Day. The holiday celebrates the Declaration of Independence. In 1776, this statement was written to tell the King of England that the colonies were free from his rule. The colonies would be united to form a new country together. Janet Chang, 8, recently visited Philadelphia with her family. Philadelphia was the first capital of the United States. The Changs went there to learn about their country's history or past. When I'm thinking about that story and it says the first capital of the United States, that tells me that today Philadelphia is not the capital. It once was, but it reminds me that there's something else that is the capital today. It has changed. Do you know what the capital of the United States is? That's right. It's Washington, D.C. As we think about where our country's leaders meet and make decisions, and the places that we can go and see lots of things in our country's past, in our history, we think about Washington, D.C. That's where most of our monuments and symbols are for our country, or in Washington, D.C. So at one point in time, we learned that the capital of the United States was originally Philadelphia. And the Changs have visited Philadelphia to learn about our country's past. So that is what I'm going to write on my board, because when I think about things that I already know. I can predict what my story is going to be about. And one of the things that I predicted was that why are they visiting this place? And why they're visiting this place is to learn more about our past. So we're going to put that under our cause. Why they're visiting, we're going to put the Chang family visits Philadelphia. Okay? So the Chang family visits Philadelphia. All right? Because they're wanting to learn about our country, they're visiting Philadelphia. Okay? So we're going to find out what happens when they visit. Okay? So over here, we're going to record the what. All right? What happens when the Chang family visits Philadelphia? So we're going to record the what as we read. So you be listening so you can think about what happens. Okay? Busy building. First, they went to the Independence Hall. That's where the Declaration of Independence was signed, Janet exclaimed. She was excited to be there. I bet that was something neat to see, don't you? 10 years after the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution was written in Independence Hall. The writers of the Constitution created new rules for the country. Rules are important. They help to keep order in a country and give people rights. One rule was that people could state their opinion. Okay, so I want you to think for just a minute about the word Constitution. That's a very large word, but it tells me here that someone wrote the Constitution. If you remember in class, we've talked about the word Constitution before, and we said that our Constitution is a set of rules or a set of laws, and these were written by people long ago. And they created those rules or those laws to keep order in our country and give people rights. One new rule was that people could state their opinion. So our rules change over the years. We are able to vote, and once one of our rights as an American citizen. And so our rules can change. Our leaders of our country can change the rules over time. And you know, when we talked about our rights have changed over the years, haven't they? You know, African Americans and women didn't always have the same rights as white men did. And so over time, our leaders were able to change those laws to give women and African American people more rights. And so that is important. Our Constitution helps to protect those rights that we have, those freedoms that we have. Ringing for freedom. The Changs later visited the Liberty Bell. It is said that the famous bell rang on July 8th, 1776. There's the bell. That was when the first public reading of the Declaration of Independence took place. The bell also chimed to announce important events such as when the president was elected. So the Liberty Bell was a very important part of our past as well. So let's go back and think about so far what we've learned from the Changs. The Chang family visited Philadelphia. Why? Because they wanted to learn about our country's past. So visiting the past, the Changs visited Philadelphia. One of the things they were able to see was our nation's capital in Philadelphia when it used to be our capital. One of the other things they were able to see was the Declaration of Independence that was signed, the Constitution, and it also says that they visited the Liberty Bell. So all of these are important things that the Changs are able to see while they are in Philadelphia. Let's read the last part. Memorable moments. Finally, Janet and her family explored Franklin Court. This is where Benjamin Franklin lived and worked. Franklin was one of the writers of the Declaration of Independence. He also helped frame the Constitution. To remember their visit, the Changs mailed a postcard from Franklin's post office. "I'll never forget this day," Janet said. So one of the last things they were able to see when they visited Philadelphia was where Benjamin Franklin lived and worked. And if you remember, he was one of the writers of the Declaration of Independence. And he also helped to develop the Constitution. And all of those are our rules for our country, our laws. All right, let's look at our chart. Visit Philadelphia, and it gives us a famous place that we can visit and why that place is cool. So let's read about that. It says the National Constitution Center. It explains the rules that were created for our nation. One area tells of the right to say what you want and the right to vote. So there's the Constitution. Independence Hall. This is where the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were written. You can see the chair that George Washington sat in as he signed the Constitution. And the last place is Betsy Ross' home. It is said that Betsy Ross made the first American flag. You can tour her home and see how she lived and how she worked. I think all of those places would be really neat to see, don't you? So let's go ahead and look at our chart again and think about the Changs. One of the things we talked about was why they visited the past, or why they visited Philadelphia, and it was to learn about the past. So the Chang family visits Philadelphia. So because the Chang family visits Philadelphia, what did they learn, or what did they find? Let's put this. They were able to see historic places. Okay. Because the Chang family visited Philadelphia, this is what happened. They were able to see many historic places, not just one. We talked about a whole list of things they were able to do and see while they were in Philadelphia. So cause and effect helps us to understand what is happening and why it's happening. Okay? So if you can remember, the cause tells us why. The effect is what's happening. As a result, this happened. Okay? It helps us to understand a story just a little bit better. In this story, we learned that our past is very important, that we learn about our past. We also learned that rules are very important. You know, without rules, we wouldn't be safe. And so they're very important. Think about what one rule for our country might be. Well, one of the things it told us up here in our chart, it said that we have the right to say what we want and the right to vote. Did you know that in some places, other than the United States, people are not allowed to voice their opinion? You can get in very big trouble for talking about the leader of your country or saying something negative, and you're not allowed to voice your own opinion. In this country, we have that rule. It's called the freedom of speech, and so we're able to kind of have our own opinion and say what we want to say. But we also have the right to vote, and that means that it's our choice of who we elect as our leaders of our country or of our state, our local leaders. We can choose who we want to represent us. So that is a right. That's one of the rules that we have as our country. That's one of our freedoms. So why are they important? Well, they help to protect us, but they also help to keep us safe. and also makes things fair, doesn't it? Think about how the rules in different places, how the rules are the same and different. You know, all the rules are there for a reason. They're all to keep us safe, but our rules can be alike and our rules can be different depending on where we go and what we do. So if we think about, we talked about at the beginning, the rules you have at home, the rules that we have at school, some of those are the same, but some of them might be a little different depending on where you are. And that's for a reason. Just like these kids that were lining up to go on the field trip, I bet they have some special rules for field trips. We do, don't we? And they're there to keep them safe as well. So this week, I want you to think about why rules are important. I want you to be thinking about cause and effect, what happens and why something happens. And I want you to be thinking about our country's past and how we can use an expository text to give us facts and informations about a topic. We can learn from the photographs and the captions that are under those photographs that help us to understand what something means. And those charts that are in an expository text are there to show us information as well. Our other story this week is going to be also about our past, but it's called Setting the Rules, and we'll read it at another time. I hope you enjoyed this story, and I hope that you get on your Google Classroom page this week and do some of the activities with the words that go with this story. I'll see you later. Bye.